Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Business Blonde on a rainy Thursday in May. We've come to bring you a bit of sunshine with some fabulous business chat, some coaching, and a fabulous guest in Sharon Gaffney. Thank you for tuning in, and join in the chat box. We love it when you do that. So first of all, sorry about the background noise. Don't know what the tech issues are. Let's go around the room. And any thoughts that have come up this week, any kind of vibes you're feeling in the business community or in yourself or in the stars? What's happening in your world? Kim?
Yeah, it's been a great week actually. So albeit a little bit of a strange one. So we've been getting ready for next week's International Coaching Week as part of the International Coaching Federation. So been planning all of that, and I've got some amazing guests, but also had my little girl's very last parents' evening at nursery. So her next one will be her get ready for school. And I was like, oh my goodness, how's that happened? She's really ready. I'm not sure I'm quite ready to give her up yet, but a real milestone, which was fab.
Oh, that's brilliant. It is a milestone. And the whole thing about motherhood, I always found, is letting go. You give birth, you let go. You might breastfeed and then they go on to solid, letting go. They start to walk, you're letting go of holding them. They go with friends, they don't need mummy anymore. It's all about letting go.
Yeah.
Sad but true. I'm sure you'll handle it beautifully, as you always do, Kim. Thinking of you, Sam.
Hello, and yes, what an interesting week. My week, actually yesterday, I had a great day facilitating a mastermind group. I'm sorry, the postman's just come with a delivery. And what I found from that was really exciting, because the shift has happened, it seems. The shift has gone now from real sort of fear and anxiety and almost a little bit of procrastination to huge amounts of growth mindset I saw amongst the peers yesterday. And that really excited me, because, we had some really sizable businesses yesterday talking about the potential growth, the opportunities out there. And actually everything was about really maximizing the opportunities and sales and revenue that is out there. So real positive week this week.
That sounds great, because I know a lot of people are still struggling. There's just, how I'm seeing it is 50-50. Some people are saying, I am nervous about going out, but I do get a sense there's going to be an absolutely phenomenal economic upturn. People want to get out there and shop and get to restaurants and have their lives again. And I just think there's a lot of positivity on the horizon. So thanks for sharing that, Sam. Penny, what are you picking up this week? How are things in Penny's world?
Well, it actually segues really nicely from what you've just been talking about, because I love the events. I always love doing my monthly dinner events in London. And we just released our tickets to some of our clients for June. 20 tickets went in 10 minutes.
Wow. And
it's so, it just shows that, and that's the capacity that I can get in June, just shows everybody's desperate. So I think events are going to be so successful. People that are running events and doing offline stuff. I think there is a desire for the hybrid though, because I think a lot of people are saying, I want to be at home. I've got into that stride. But just the intoxicating thought of getting on a train, carrying a coffee, looking out of a window, arriving at a place, feeling all nice and dressed up a bit. And I just think everybody's excited about that.
I love it. I like the intoxicating thought of a glass of wine in a warm place rather than freezing your knees off outside. But I did a talk this week on resilience at a networking group, because it's a National Mental Health Awareness Week. And I'm talking about resilience, how in the last year, really, we're all here, we have survived, and we have all dug deep for resilience in our lives, in our businesses, in our personal lives, in our mental health. And, it's just so surprising that none of us had a template for the last 12 months. And here we are. and we're doing okay. And as I say, some better than others, but the main thing is you're far more resilient than you think you are. And I think that's what came through in the talk. And afterwards, the discussion was, I am a bit nervous. I am still struggling, and other people can't wait to get out. So I think, you know, people will be catching up in their own personal ways, really, to get back out there. But really, really delighted to welcome Sharon today. I've known Sharon for many years, a lovely friend, and also a great business inspiration. Because every time I see Sharon, she's got something new and astonishing to say. She was bringing a native indigenous, I don't know what you call it, Indian, from the Amazon back to the UK to go to number 10 and lobby Parliament about the Amazon rainforest. Then she's doing things in the arts, and she's also very, very passionate about helping small businesses become environmentally friendly, sustainable, and apply for the business grants that they need in order to do that. You've had 22 years of experience developing small businesses, and you started out with one of our heroes, Anita Roddick.
Yeah.
So Sharon, tell us all about your journey. How did you get from Anita Roddick to where you are now?
So I ran my business when I was very young, and I didn't have anybody to help or support me, and obviously that's huge. And when eventually I made mistakes along the way, and I ran a few companies, and then realised that I really loved and was passionate about mentoring other companies. And Anita Roddick was setting up the arm of the Body Shop Direct. So I became a consultant to help her with the people that joined that to be able to be self-employed. So I was amazed at what she did and how she did it, and how she was such a profitable company with high ethics, and you know, and she was an absolute inspiration for me. And I always remember one of the things that she ever said as well about women in business, because obviously that's why I was there and I was supporting them. And she said one thing, which was, you know, if a woman can negotiate between a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old who has the last toffee, she can actually negotiate any contract in the world. And I thought, you know, that is absolutely amazing. I just love that. And so she absolutely inspired me that you can run a business and you can be sustainable and ethical. And of course, I went out there to try and do this, and I kept hitting quite a lot of brick walls because I'm not Anita Roddick, you know. And so I then went into helping start up businesses, and once they got to know me and understand me and trusted me, then I was able to go in with the sustainability. But of course things have changed over time, and I've obviously, Anita was a huge influence of what I did. And then I joined an organization where I helped start up businesses, and we ended up, you know, helping an enormous amount. And I was fortunate to be on a carbon cutout program, not a really good name for it, I'm afraid, carbon cutout, but we helped 300 businesses become carbon sustainable. And one of the key things I found was that businesses didn't understand what the word sustainable meant, you know. And it's so simple. It's what you take out, you put back. That's it. That is it. And there's so many different ways that you can help yourself to be able to do that. So I became a little bit of a champion for sustainability. I mean, I've never gone to university for degrees on this. This has all been a learning process as I've gone along. And after I'd worked for this organisation helping start up businesses, I decided, no, I want to be back on my own, back at the grassroots, really helping businesses the way I want to do it. They really weren't interested in the sustainable side. After this project had finished, they just said, you know, well, you know, it's not what we do. We don't want to do it. And I thought, no, this is where I want to actually take my journey. And I was really fortunate. I've been volunteering for a theatre for 7 years, and they said, Sharon, if you're going out on your own, will you give us 2 days a week, please, you know, just to help put us on the map? And I thought, you know what, it's my passion. I'm setting up this business, perfect opportunity to be able to create the business for me, you know, rather than do what everybody else wants to do. So I put 4 days odd in creating this startup side of things, but then 2 days I gave to the theatre. And they just gave me an absolute, like, they just said, just go for it. Whatever you want to do, help us put us on the map. So I thought, right, how can I bring in, you know, the sustainability side of things, all my business contacts, and really get this lovely theatre on the map. So we started Watford Fringe Festival, which was brilliant, and you know, we're only in our 3rd year with that, but it's growing and growing, and I love that. But also, I used to work with a guy called Phil Williams, and he was an inspirational speaker. He used to work with David Attenborough, who was a producer and a director. And he used to go around the country doing, you know, obviously filming all over the world, but he gave it up because he just saw what we were doing to the planet. So he gave everything up just to become a speaker, and he used to go to schools and businesses. He used to do the inspirational side because he used to go all over the world and tell all these amazing stories. And I used to follow up with what the businesses or the schools could do. And we only worked occasionally together in a year, but I just loved being with him. And I thought, why don't we put on a play with some of his amazing stories? You know, that would be perfect because I can bring the business world in. I can get sponsorship for it. I can bring in Phil, who's just got these amazing stories, and I can help the theatre. So Phil sort of came to me and said, I'll write the script. I went, brilliant, thinking that would be fantastic. Off he went, and it wasn't very good. Bless him, his stories are amazing, but he's not a script writer. So I pulled in a few people and we made it an educational play. So we thought, right, okay, we'll put this on. And during our discussions with Phil, I said, obviously, you've got this amazing footage, you know, which will really help from the Amazon to be able to bring the whole play to life. So everything was going to be done on stage, and there was going to be an interactive screen above with the not live, but footage from the Amazon. But I haven't got any footage. I said, what? We've been talking about this. We'd already sold tickets. We'd already got the rehearsals underway. And he said, no. He said, I just go out there and I just want to do it. He said, somebody's going to have to go. So I thought, all right, I'll go. You know, it's something that I've been advocate about protecting, you know, the rainforest. I thought, right, I'll do it. So I went out with my family because I thought it was too big for me to do on my own, because I thought, what an experience. I want them to experience this as well. My daughter was a photographer. My son does film, so it's perfect. You know, we can all do it together. And we went out and lived with the Indigenous Indians for nearly 3 weeks. And it was amazing. That changed my life. Absolutely, without a shadow of doubt. I've gone through life experiences, highs and lows. This changed my life forever. When we got off the boat, we had to catch a large plane, a coach journey, a motorized canoe for 3 hours, a small plane, and then we had a paddle canoe for another hour and a half, then a trek in the jungle for an hour and a half to get where we were. We were in the middle of nowhere. And I got off the boat, and we saw the devastation that the oil industry was actually doing when we were there. And I just suddenly realised, yeah, we're doing the right thing here. We're bringing something to people that's completely different, to make them see it from a different perspective, not just from, you know, oh, I have to save plastic, I have to do this. There's a real human element to this. And when I got off the boat, I remember saying to Javier, who was our guide, he learned English in 3 years because he realised tourism was a good way to be able to fight the oil industry. So that helps pay for the projects. And I got off the boat and I said, I am so sorry for what we are doing in the West to your home. And he said, it's not my home, it's your home. And I'm really pleased you've come to see it. And just that humbled me, you know. But living with these people, they just got a different, you know, attitude completely to life. And they don't have time. They don't have days of the week. It was just amazing. So I came back with this absolutely stunning footage that went with the play. And we put that on. And we got the business world and community and everybody engaged with it. And about 10 weeks before we were about to put the play on, I went, it's not going to work. And the whole of my theatre production and everybody that was involved looked at me and said to me, Sharon, are you joking? What do you mean it's not going to work? It's like watching a documentary. You don't get the passion. I saw from Javier, he made me cry nearly every day with what he could do. So I said, you know, don't get it. So they said, well, what do you think we should do? I said, he needs to be here. He needs to be on the stage. He needs to be the one that actually tells people what is happening, for them to understand that we all need to make small changes. So we went to some corporate sponsorship and we raised the money to be able to bring him over. So we had Javier. So that was the other huge life experience for me, and for the young people to have him come out on stage. And we kept the play exactly the same. But right at the very end, one person broke the third wall and said, no, hang on, we shouldn't be talking to this person on the screen. We should be talking to him. And he just walks out because he's there, face on the screen, and he came out. So it really worked. And I was very fortunate. I got businesses involved. So we went and took Javier around to businesses. We took him to Number 10, as Carol was saying. We took him to schools, but we also took him to Warner Brothers, because we have Warner Brothers on our doorstep. And I'm very fortunate. I worked with Dan Dark, the CEO, and he said, Sharon, you must bring Javier to Warner Brothers. So I said, okay. So we went to Warner Brothers, and he just went. They loved it. He went on tour and everything. And but it was the business community that surprisingly saw how things differently when they heard his perspective. Now, I can't bring Javier with me everywhere I go when I talk to businesses, but I can talk about some of the things that we've learned. So he was a real huge, massive influence. And that was the turning point where I thought, no, this has got to be my focus. This is something that I know and I understand. And I have to change my attitude of not thinking that it becomes secondary to starting up a business. It actually should be ingrained from when you start up that business. So huge influences. I've been, as I say, very fortunate along the way. So yeah, that's why I become such a champion, really.
Sharon, no, I think all our hair's been blown back by your story. It's astonishing.
It was I just loved it. I loved every minute of him being here, and it was really weird because people used to stop and stare because he's got the long hair, he's got the features, etc., and he wore his tribal makeup, etc. Around wherever we went, people just flocked to him. It was amazing. So yeah, and he's firm friend now as well, and he started a tourism business, so I've started him in business as well. So which is amazing. But yeah, but that's given me the impetus to be able to absolutely go to businesses and say, look, you know, we've got to be doing something. We can't just be doing nothing really at the end of the day. And there's simple steps that businesses can take. So yeah, it's been good.
Sharon, your passion for this just absolutely overflows. Like when you speak, and your smile and your face just comes alive when you talk about him and the work that you've done together. It's extraordinary, and thanks for sharing that with us. Everyone knows that my world is in the SME business side of things, and you obviously help startups, you help women in business be sustainable. That's your thing. But what I come across, the objections in SME is that obviously the affordability. So how can I balance affordability, profit, and sustainability? What would you say to those thinking that way?
Well, absolutely. The one thing is, don't try to do it all. You definitely don't. You take one step at a time. And so one of the things I do with the business is I actually go in and audit their organisation. So we break it down into chunks. So you look at transport, you look at energy supplies, you look at travel, you look at waste, you look at all sorts of different sections. And there will always be something that the business is higher in. For instance, for me, I do coaching, etc. So mine is mileage, you know, when I'm going around the country. So I then focus on the largest thing that has the biggest impact within the environment. And it doesn't have to be onerous. So there are things that businesses can do. For instance, somebody said to me recently, I'm all for carbon, setting off carbon as well, where you pay an organisation to set off carbon. And people say, isn't that lazy? And I say, no, actually, not if a business actually can't get into the psyche that this is, you know, a priority. There is a very easy way. You work out your carbon footprint, and you can actually then have that set off. Obviously, I'd like them to reduce their carbon footprint as well at the same time. But there is organisations that do that. And what happens is they massively benefit. So, for instance, I pay for an organisation that plants trees all over the world, and it's called 8 Billion Trees. So I know what I'm doing. I've changed my search engine to Ecosia. Simple things. So for every 45 search engines you do, they plant a tree for you. You know, so there's things that you can do very simply, or you can do it in quite a lot of detail. So once you've audited and had a look at what is causing the biggest impact, we work on that. And a lot of times there's so many grants out there. at the moment there are huge amounts of grants, and I took down a couple because they change consistently. So you've got the Greggs Foundation Fund, which is, some of them £68 million, and there's also ERDF funding still available at the moment, European funding, and vehicles. The actual benefits for getting electric cars at the moment are huge, especially if you're a single company owner. And the other big influence for me, so you're saying, Sam, you work with SMEs. In Hertfordshire, and there's 63,000, nearly 64,000 businesses, and 92% of them are SMEs, and most of those are 0 to 9s. So I've got this ethos: if every single one of us did one thing, a little thing, and you think about it, that 90% of businesses all did that 1 or 2 things, it's going to make a huge difference. So what I do say to businesses, don't panic. You don't think you've got to do it all, that it's going to cost you a fortune. As long as you measure it, and that's what's really important. And I get huge passion out of helping a company then write their company report. So on the back pages, they're telling them how many trees they've saved. A ream of paper is a sixth of a tree. Easy to measure. You save 20 reams of paper, you know how many trees you've saved. So, and people get a lot more, staff get more engaged with that side of things, especially if they've been there right from the start. So it's a real journey. I don't think it's going to happen overnight.
I think you made a really good point there, because I think SMEs think that, we're so little, our small input is not going to have an impact. Whereas, like you said, if every single person does just something little, it's going to have a huge impact. And also, what's really fascinating me at the moment is how the younger generation, how the millennials and the Gen Zs, they all feel so passionate about this, and seeing that on the back of the company report every quarter will really motivate them to do more. I think that's a really valid point.
Yeah, absolutely. And from the project that we did with the theatre, I had 25 young people that were involved in that. And I cannot tell you what champions they are now from after meeting him. So you're right, it's that generation, which is where I always have open doors for schools as well, because I think it's about giving them and empowering them at an early stage. So I don't just deal with the businesses. I really do support schools to be able to do this too, to be able to educate right from the word go. But you're right, they're all way ahead of us as well in some ways, because it's been ingrained in them. And that's why for startup businesses, I think it needs to be right from the word go, and ethics as well, ethical businesses. And the other thing is I find that once a company starts down that route, as long as they publicize it, I'm absolutely an advocate, publicize what you're doing, do shout about it. You'll find you'll get different customer base as well, because there are people that gravitate towards business that are now more ethical and sustainable. So, yeah.
I love that. And your passion, as Sam said, is like, it overspills, doesn't it, in the impact that we can have. And actually, even the smallest thing can make such a big difference. And I love that you're also doing it in the education piece. I do quite a bit with like some local school academies. And I think the more we can do in that space to help people have it as part of their DNA. And I guess that's what you're saying, isn't it? It's about making it the DNA of your business, part of your ethics, your values, your purpose. And that will help you define who you are, why you are, and get your clients, I guess.
Yeah. And right, going back to your point initially about that businesses can be profitable and sustainable or ethical at the same time. They really can. It's just a different mindset. And being able to support that. And I remember Javier one day when obviously we'd taken him to the House of Parliament, we'd gone all over the place, he'd been to Warner Brothers. And of course, he didn't understand why we had so many shoes. That was the first thing he said. He looked at me, why do you have so many shoes? They just cover your feet. I thought, no, we're going to have to educate you on that one. But he said, you never strive for anything less. He said, I've noticed that all you ever want is more and more. And I realized actually that's the way we've been brought up, isn't it? And when I go back to that, sustainable means you put back what you take. Then obviously you can take as long as you put back more. So it's about just us all becoming very re-educated. And thank goodness for my job has always been quite hard. I have found it quite tough until David Attenborough did the plastic program, and it's just opened the floodgates now for people to have that different mindset. So, which I'm very grateful for. So yeah. Carol's on mute.
Sorry, I was going to say, Penny, I thought you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I'm really curious about this subject because, well, I'm glad you mentioned the offsetting, because in some ways that can be lazy, can't it? And I know I've got a client who writes reports on carbon reporting, because there's 12,000 companies in the UK now that have to, if they're over a certain size, aren't they? And over,
yeah, it's called ESOS. Is it ESOS? ESOS
yeah,
now?
Something like that. And it's really important. But I've been thinking about myself, and actually Thomas and I are due to change our car, and now we've heard that the government not only are they giving grants, but also you can put your car through your company, if it's hybrid, and there's a very minimal amount of benefit in kind now to try and encourage business owners and directors to do that, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, last year it was free. There was no benefit in kind at all. But this year it's like £500, which is negligible.
For a year. I mean, exactly.
And there's ERDF grant. If you can prove that it's going to be able to save you can also get a further £5,000 towards that vehicle. So, yeah, it's really worth it.
It's just navigating. It's like everything, isn't it? Someone like you will highlight to people watching this. And then it's navigating, how do you get the knowledge? So how do you work as an expert? How do you provide your knowledge?
I do sign up to every grant finder that's going, so that I know exactly where I can actually be able to insert.
No, but how do you give it to others? How does somebody become a client of yours? How do you impart the knowledge?
Well, so obviously I've got my company Verdi Business Solutions, so that they can come to me directly. I've helped start 2,500 businesses, so I get an awful lot of recommendations, and people have come to me throughout the years. And I run Sapphire Business Club as well, so there's lots of ways people understand.
I'm not meaning how do you get how do you generate leads? I mean, how does somebody? Do you coach them? Is it a one-off process?
Sorry, Penny.
No, that's all right.
It's obviously one of those days. I should have had more wine.
It's very interesting to know about the other stuff, but I'm trying to channel it down to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, we have a discussion over the phone of exactly where they want to go with this, because it's about how far do they want to go. So it's really important for me to understand their business goals with their sustainability and how invested they are. Is it something they want to do very simply, or is it something they want to do back, and then I'll come round and do an audit. So I will come and audit their company, and we go through the whole sections and look at their company as a whole and see what they need. Sometimes it's just waste that they want to do, or it's a travel plan, or all sorts of things. And then I have a look to see whether there's any grants available to be able to support them there. But because I've been a business advisor for quite some time, it's quite often when I go into a company, I can also help them with their business growth. I see an avenue that I'll say, actually, I know this isn't anything to do with sustainability, but if you perhaps have a look at this sort of market, etc. So it's quite a learning process, and it evolves as well. So after the audit, they decide how much or how little they actually want to invest in to be able to support their businesses. But I also insist that they measure whatever they do, and I'll help them with that as well, because that's the most important thing, is measuring what you do.
Sharon, so we could listen to you all day, and it's the time, unfortunately, is always our enemy. I wonder if you could just give us one tip that all of us, anyone on the call today, could do to be a little bit greener in our business.
Yeah, just Ecosia is a perfect example of changing your search engine. That's so simple. It takes 2 seconds, and it benefits hugely. It really does. So that's one simple tip. And join Grant Finder as well, because then tons of grants will come into your inbox, and you know whether it suits you or not. So that's 2 tips.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Sharon. Just a quick go around the room. Has anyone else got a tip for our viewers today? Penny, have you got a takeaway tip?
Well, I will. And if you go to your iPhone and you go to your settings, right, there is something called screen time, and they have got this downtime and app limiting, and I've added this now because I discovered that all our dopamine and stimulation we're getting through the day is you really need to calm down to let your melatonin come in. So I now turn all of my apps off, and they automatically happen on my phone from 7 o'clock in the evening, which, you know, if I want to work, I'll come and do it at my desk. But other than that, I'm now. So I would say have a look at that on your apps. Try and increase your melatonin so you rest well at night.
Thank you, Penny. That's a great tip. Sam?
I think I'm just going to follow on from what Sharon was saying. I loved, that it's okay to take as long as we put more back. So not just to put something back, but put more back. And I think that that's a really great message. So I'm going to follow on from that. Thank you, Sharon.
And I'm mad on pot plants, and I think they do help our well-being. I can't move in my house. It's a jungle in here, not out there. So buy pot plants, not just because they're trendy at the moment, but add something to your office that's a bit green. It makes you appreciate life and all green issues, really. I think it brings a little bit of that sensibility into your home, and it's good for well-being. And now, thanks again, Sharon, for being a great host. I'm going to leave it to Kim for a tip and to finish off. Thank you, Kim.
Sharon, could literally listen to you all day. I think you're right. I think it's all of us taking the chance to do the one thing that we can do, whatever that is, no matter how small. Let's make sure we take that stance. And if you would like to join us and be in Sharon's chair, then please do get in touch with us at www.businessblondes.tv. And until then, enjoy the lovely weather if you're having any lovely weather, and enjoy the rain if, like me, you've got our rain for the joy of May. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.